registering strong growth as far as its SIP investments are concerned. SIP inflows crossed the 20,000 crore rupee mark for the first time in the month of April this year, according to the latest data coming in from the Association of Mutual Funds of India, or AMFI. After 300 cabin crew members of Air India Express went on a mass sick leave in protest and switched off their mobile phones, the airline fired many of them and now has withdrawn the termination of 25 of those cabin crew members. Tech giant Apple is under scrutiny for its latest iPad advertisement named Crush. The ad, which has gone viral on social media, has invited the wrath of the artistic community for portraying AI as one that kills artists. Domino's moves the court in a trademark infringement case. It says many eateries are using deceptively similar named on food delivery platforms to lead to confusion amongst customers. In news that brings cheers to Uber in India, the count of Uber drivers in India crossed the 1 million mark. India is the third largest country in the number of Uber drivers after the US and Brazil. And India may witness power outages in the month of June as the country's hydropower generation remains down and renewables energy generation stays flat. It could be the biggest power shortfall in 14 years in India. We begin with the festival Akshaya Tritiya, and the day that's considered to be auspicious for buying gold, for bringing good luck and prosperity into your lives. We have my friend and colleague Suyash Maheshwari joining us. Suyash, talk to us. Very important day for buying gold usually, but the way gold prices have been trading in recent times, hitting record highs, I believe it's off those record highs, but still at very high levels.
Yes, and Krishna, I completely agree with you. It makes all the more sense, apart from traditional and cultural reasons side, the situation and the conditions that we are currently in, it makes all the more sense to buy in gold. Just to, add some context, gold in 2024, in the first 4 months of 2024 alone, has delivered returns in excess of 14%. This, in comparison, Nifty has, risen by about 1.5% or so. Now, the kind of times that we are living in, there is economic uncertainty, inflation is on the rise, and as we know, gold traditionally has been considered a hedge against both of them. The world is witnessing 3 wars or at least conflicts. Multiple countries are going into elections, both here in India and in the US. I think 40 countries are going to or maybe have gone through elections in this calendar year alone. So there is a lot of binary events that are waiting to happen or have already happened, and a lot of market uncertainty. So at a time like this, it makes a lot more sense to, buy gold and invest in gold, and that is clearly what has happened, because gold has risen by about 14% compared to equities, which traditionally tend to do better than a traditional asset class like gold, a safe haven asset class like gold, which has delivered returns of about 1.5%. Your other point that you try to make, gold has definitely slipped from its record high levels. It has slipped by about 3%, but that is because of this higher for longer narrative that has recently set in the US markets. Now I'll just take a minute to explain why higher for longer is bad for gold. Now gold, as we know, at least as a metal, as a asset class, it's a non-interest bearing asset class. So if interest rates remain higher or elevated for longer, fixed income securities become more viable and an attractive investment option, whereas gold, which does not give, which is a non-interest yielding asset class, at least physical metal, sovereign gold bonds do deliver 2.5% returns per annum. But if you are talking about gold, as a metal, it is not interest bearing, and that's why maybe we are seeing some bit of a pullback in gold prices. But then again, it's an auspicious day, and perhaps buying gold makes a lot of sense. And the experts that I've been talking to, Krishna, currently gold is at around 73,000 rupees in Indian markets. They expect gold to reach at least 1 lakh, by the same time this year.
Okay, so which means that despite hitting record highs, it's still a very good time to buy gold and invest in gold. Talking about investments, when it comes to SIP investments or systematic investment plan investments into mutual funds, the latest data from the Association of Mutual Funds of India, or AMFI, shows that SIP investments in India crossed the 20,000 crore rupee mark for the month of April 2024. It's the first time that SIP investments have crossed the 20,000 crore rupee mark in a single month, and right now, in total, nearly 2.5 lakh crore rupees have been invested in SIPs Suyash, you're talking about different asset classes. It looks like there is no asset class that's gone untouched by people. People are putting money into gold, people are putting money into mutual funds as well.
Definitely, Krishna. And I mean, this 20,000 crore figure in SIPs on a monthly basis, I think that speaks volumes about the inherent strength of the Indian markets. Because look how the markets were back in April. We saw a 1,000-point crash and a 1,000-point rally. Essentially, the markets were flat. Nifty only gave returns of about 1.5% in the month of April. The markets were extremely choppy. And again, it brings me back to the point that I was making. There is a lot of economic uncertainty that we are facing. Investors are jittery. Election results are due. You know, we were talking about this final tally, what the number would be.
And there is anxiety regarding that final tally, which is bringing down the markets as well.
Yes, and even now, Nifty has corrected by about 800 points, and we, you know, in the past, at least 12-15 months back, we were discussing it, you know, on first sick, that how FIIs, how foreign institutional investors were the primary drivers of the market.
Yeah.
Look at what has happened in the last 12-15 months. FIIs have been selling incessantly, and the markets have been hitting all-time high. Why is that? It's because your domestic institutional investors are more than, you know, offsetting the selling or the dumping of stocks from FIIs, and they are buying at there. And who is giving domestic institutional money? Investors money. It's you and I, because it's mutual fund, it's collection of funds. So there is inherent confidence in the strength of Indian economy, and that's why we are seeing, you know, such landmark figures come as for the mutual fund industry.
Landmark figures as far as the mutual fund industry is concerned, 20,000 crore rupees just for the month of April. But moving on away from investment and asset classes to the big story that everybody has been tracking, and that's the flight mess at Air India. After 300 cabin crew members of Air India Express went on a mass sick leave in protest against the new employment terms, the airline has now withdrawn the termination of 25 cabin crew members. Bear in mind, the airline had sacked many of them, but now the termination notices or the sacking notices of 25 cabin crew members have been withdrawn. But what exactly is the full story? Over 100 Air India Express international and domestic flights were cancelled after the airline's cabin crew members reported sick at the last minute on the 7th of May and switched off their mobile phones, claiming health issues, effectively bringing operations to a grinding halt. The crew were allegedly protesting against the new employment terms at the now Tata Group-owned airline, and the airline earlier said that they are engaging with the crew to understand the reasons behind the occurrences of sick leave and will offer a full refund or complimentary rescheduling to affected passengers. But the latest is that after a long mediation, now it looks like all those who were sacked by the airline have now been reinstated into the company. Hopefully, it's all is well from here on, isn't it, Suyash?
Yes, I mean, it looks like, you know, the intervention from Chief Labour Commissioner Ashok Perumula has worked. They went for 5 hours of deliberation, and it seems that the employee union and the airline has come to some bit of an understanding. As you pointed out, the airline has withdrawn the termination letters issued to 25 crew members. In return, these crew members have decided to, you know, resume work immediately. So it looks like, you know, the situation, the problem that Air India was facing, it's I mean, there is some resolution to it. How long it sticks, that only time will tell, Krishna.
How long will this take? Only time will tell. But for now, the hope is that there are no more cancellations or delays in flights, and passengers have a smooth travel experience, at least from today onwards. But with that, we are taking a very short breather here on Business Plus. We'll be back with lots more stories on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Keep it with News 9 Live.
There's a new video around what deepfake can do.
We had seen a trailer of this a few days back.
Dominos should not be only on the platform.
You know, we'll have to wait and see how those play out.
Hindenburg's report cannot be taken as gospel of truth.
Film and entertainment is definitely one of the levers for any country to build its brand.
We are getting global. I feel that we're just on the takeoff.
More and more films are becoming language agnostic.
Content is a universal language.
There's one audience in the world.
Absolutely. End of the day, we all are like brothers who have mutual respect for each other from a different land.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
For the very first time in our investigation, we unmasked the killer of Ravindra Matre.
In 5G, we have to stand with the world, and in 6G, we have to lead the world.
Winning a Grammy was an absolutely surreal experience.
You're watching Business Plus. I'm Krishna Kumar. Apple has issued an apology after the backlash over its advertisement for its newest iPad, which depicted an industrial press crushing objects associated with human creativity, sparking outrage among artists. The ad, shared on social media by Apple CEO Tim Cook, drew immediate criticism for its perceived insensitivity, particularly at a time when the creative community is struggling with concerns about the impact of generative AI on their livelihoods. We have my friend and colleague Amit Ranjan with me in the studio. Amit, the strange is that Apple's ads almost never spark outrage, backlash. In fact, they are considered the beacon of creativity. They do some of the best advertisements ever. You know, they're always iconic. But what they've done clearly is, you know, the brief that was either given to the people who made the ad or the final product, you know, somehow, how did it miss Tim Cook?
See, the advertising community is always hard-pressed to stand out from the clutter. The ad is awesome. Everything that goes into creativity, whether it's music, whether it is art, paint, everything, it's crushed into one iPad. The simple message is that. Now, but when Hugh Grant says something, then people take notice. And he has said the destruction of human experience courtesy Silicon Valley. I believe that's taking it too much. Few years ago, if you remember, Gillette came out with a tagline, the best a man can get. Everything that was wrong, that a man aspired towards, and that was wrong, was put into the ad, and then it was the Gillette, that was the good thing. And people criticized it, but some people said it stood out. Apple is sorry. But 2 days have passed, they have not taken down the ad from social media. They have said that they'll not broadcast it on broadcast media, but they have not taken it down. The ad has made waves. It is different.
Okay, it is different, but you know, looking at that ad, it is, one thing is to send a message, and the other thing is to be sensitive to what is going on as far as the creative community is concerned. Apple, incidentally, is trying to build more and more AI capabilities into its products, isn't it?
Yes,
Amit, be it its laptops, be it its Apple Mac computers, its iPads, its phones. It wants to build in as much artificial intelligence, generative AI as possible. So, which means that Apple is going the AI way all out. And that AI way is something that is worrying everybody, from people who write scripts to people who make ads to people who make movies to music to singers, where AI can just take away so much of their livelihoods. The only question is that could they have not thought through this completely, that, you know, can an iPad completely replace a bunch of artists? Isn't that also the message that comes through?
Yeah, it does. But like I said before, I was in the ad community once upon a time, and they were hard pressed always to stand out from the clutter, and the clutter has been increasing with the amount of media that is going out.
Okay.
This stands out. All right, it goes a little too far, but it does stand out. And as far as AI is concerned, why single out Apple? Everybody has to go there.
Everybody has to go, but you know, you definitely taking the side of the advertising community, because, you know, probably it was home to you at once upon a time. The only question is, in the quest to stand out, should you also remain sensitive to the conversations around at this stage?
I think that's the fine line they are playing. They've said they're sorry.
Okay.
They said they're committed to creativity.
Okay, so they're committed to creativity. They have apologized in case it hurts sentiments, but they are not willing to take the advertisement down.
2 days have passed. They've not taken it down.
48 hours have passed, and the ad is still there on social media. Okay, it's not going to be playing on TV.
Sorry, not so sorry.
Sorry, not so sorry is probably the message that Apple is bringing in, but we'll see what happens with this ad going forward. But moving on and away from Apple to the Delhi High Court, which has issued a directive to food delivery players Swiggy and Zomato, instructing them to cease listing 13 restaurants suspected of infringing on the trademark of Domino's pizza. Justice Anish Dayal of the Delhi High Court mandated compliance within a week, urging these platforms to inform the defendant restaurants as needed. And this decision came after Domino's Pizza initiated a lawsuit for trademark infringement. The High Court observed that customers had ordered food under the mistaken belief that the defendant outlets were affiliated with Domino's Pizza. After reviewing the case, the Delhi High Court found merit in Domino's Pizza's claims and issued the takedown orders. What a curious case of the Domino's trademark effect, isn't it, Amit?
It is, right turn of phrase over there, the Domino's trade-down effect. And they've got till the 1st of June to basically make amends to their logos and whatever POPs they have out there. I'm not too sure. Of course, it is a piggyback sort of a situation, and Domino's is the biggest brand worldwide in that space. So a piggyback should not have been allowed in the first place. If some people, and brands as big as Zomato and Swiggy are doing it, is a serious matter. It remains to be seen. There are other brands that will look closely at what Zomato and Swiggy and all these kinds of delivery brands are doing with their logos. But yeah, it is a serious matter to start with, and it's good that the court has taken a very strong decision to take down everything that is there and given them a deadline of 1st of June.
Right, and the question here is that, you have Zomato and Swiggy being the first ones to be told that, like, you have to stop listing these restaurants because they're clearly infringing on Domino's trademark. One thing is to shut down the restaurants per se, and the other is the fact that, how did Zomato and Swiggy allow for these restaurants to be listed in the first place?
Yeah, so Zomato and Swiggy, if I understand right, their listing procedure will have to basically go back to they will have to go back to the drawing board to basically draw down the guidelines of listing restaurants onto their platforms and apps. Probably that is one effect that is going to happen from here on. But probably brands that are there affiliated with these restaurants and these delivery sites will start taking a closer look at what is happening with their logos and trademarks.
Right, because look at these names, they are very confusing. The 13 food outlets we're talking about, they have names like Dominic Pizza, Dominex Pizza, Dominic Pizza, Domix Pizza, and Dominic with a D-O-M-I-N-I-C-K, Dominic Pizza. And then Dominic, and then Dominix, and then Dominic with a K, and then Dominic, Domix Pizza and Cafe. This is absolutely crazy.
Extremely creative though. If we go back, and again I'll allude to what happened in advertising some time ago, I'm sure it's still happening. Taste the Thunder was the tagline of Thumbs Up.
Yeah.
There were lassi walas in Delhi and Bombay, specifically in Bombay, which had the tagline, "Taste the Thanda Thanda Lassi."
Okay.
The typeface was the same, and they would do it, but these guys were just outlets. So it is creative over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't get so creative on the national platform with brands like Zomato and Swiggy, with a brand like Domino's. That would hurt them.
Yeah, and at least in that case, it was a matter of a tagline. This is the name of the restaurant per se, and I'm surprised that so many people did not notice the fact that because Domino's Pizza has been existing in the market for so long. It is a very clear branding. It has that logo, blue and red, and Domino's Pizza, and yet these are the kind of names that can be extremely misleading for people to order in. I just wonder how many other brands are going through the same thing. And Domino's is a global giant. It is zeroed in upon a very specific problem and had taken the matters to court. But I am sure this is happening with other chains as well.
Yeah, like I said, so other brands will start looking closely at how their brands are, how many other brands which are close to their names and their logos are on these platforms. So that'll probably be a starting point. And probably these platforms too will have more stringent guidelines for companies to get onto their apps.
Right, and with that, we are taking another very short breather here on Business Plus. We'll be back with more on the other side in just a jiffy. Keep it with News 9 Live.
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए, और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही सुपर ऐप पर। पैसे का सवाल है तो जवाब है मनी 9। आजादी पैसे की। अभी डाउनलोड करें।
You were the chosen one to direct Mr. Bachchan for his first endorsement, for his first appearance on the small screen.
It was a life-changing moment.
Have you been a rebel with a cause?
There was a sense of responsibility, there was a sense of frustration.
Are you worried about cancel culture?
You tell a story with a fierce psychosis, you're gonna spoil it anyway.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
You're watching Business Plus. I'm Krishna Kumar. Ride-hailing giant Uber has hit a huge milestone in India. That's right, it has now over 1 million drivers in the country. It was announced by Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi during the earnings call for the March quarter. Following the announcement, India has joined the ranks of the US and Brazil as the third country to achieve this milestone of over 1 million Uber drivers. Now, the quarter ending March 31st saw Uber have a notable 15% increase in global revenues compared to the previous year, soaring to over $10 billion, fueled by both its mobility and delivery services. We have Amit Ranjan in the studio with us. Amit, what an incredible number. It is a market that's only growing for Uber. The demand only keeps rising for ride-hailing services in India, and Uber is one of the early entrants as far as India is concerned. Of course, it faces a huge competition in the form of homegrown Ola, but the fact of the matter is that, and even you have, more cab ride-hailing services in the country. We have a Meru, Mega Cabs, we have a Blue Smart, which is a electric vehicle-only cab ride-hailing service. All of this points to the fact that if Uber is crossing 1 million drivers in India, the demand is that much in a market like India.
The new markets penetration, according to the same report that I've come out with, is 17%. Is the growth in new market penetration is 17%. So that is how much penetration they're having in India. In a country like India, where they know there are lower income groups also, they're even competing not just with Ola, they're even competing with a Rapido, which is on two-wheelers.
Right.
So Uber is competing there also. They are not shy of diluting a brand that they're only premium, and they are competing with the Blue, which is coming out with premium taxis. So they are going whole hog in every segment, and no wonder it's a 17% growth penetration in emerging markets.
And that just points to the fact that there is still more penetration left. There is still more work to be done in a market like India. There is still more room for more players. Once upon a time, all we knew was a Meru cab. All we knew was a Meru cab. And then came Uber. And then came Ola. And then came this huge tug of war between Uber and Ola for supremacy in the Indian market. And that tug of war, that fight still continues as far as the Indian market is concerned. But the fact of the matter is that even as Uber and Ola slugfest continues, you have a bunch of these players coming out, because the moment you exit an airport in India, you see the number of cab-hailing, ride-hailing services that are available.
Talking about airports, the good old yellow and black is still there. And they are also fighting their own battle over there. So yeah, the battle is huge and the players are just growing.
Yes, the battle is huge and the players are just growing. And of course, a global giant like Uber in India now has over 1 million drivers, as predicted, in fact, by the CEO in the month of February this year, and that prediction has come true. But moving on away from Uber, India is set to face its gravest power crisis in over a decade, as a decline in hydropower production threatens to plunge the nation into its worst electricity shortage in 14 years. With the month of June looming, it's a race against time as the centre tries to avoid outages by deferring planned plant maintenance and reopening idled units. Power Minister R.K. Singh has reportedly held an emergency meeting to take stock of the situation and has decided to defer shutting down power plants for maintenance during the month of June and revive 5 gigawatt of idled coal plant capacity to manage the shortfall. The shortfall that's the worst in over 14 years. And with that, we've completely run out of time here on this edition of Business Plus. Thank you so much for watching. This is Krishna Kumar signing off.
Start with the end in mind. You need to know where you want to reach. Every morning that we wake up, we are exercising our choice. The destiny is decided. The results are known that I'm going to win. Life of a goalkeeper is something which has always intrigued me.
When you come into a stadium, this is the highest level of pressure.
When I set out to do something, I decide in my mind that failure is not an option.
What you feel very strongly about, those are the stories to tell.
I have a mind which is absolutely restless.
Mind and body are entangled sensations.
That brings me back to golf. It's an amazing game.
This is not a perfect game. You only learn from them.
If you have a formula to a success, then you can replicate it.
I feel this is my first step. I'm starting now.
Winner is first born in the mind. I think, therefore I am. We are all about our mind.
This and more. Streaming on News 9.